everybody. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah, it's Thank God I'm Atheist, a podcast about faith, politics, and religion in these turbulent United States. I'm Frank Feldman.
I'm Rachel.
Sitting in for
Mr. Beecher.
Thank you, Rachel, for
You're
being
welcome.
here.
You're welcome.
It's always a good time. Too bad Dan. Well, is it too bad Dan's not here? I don't know.
Glass half full.
But we're glad you're here.
Thanks.
And yeah, so it'll be pretty much a typical show. Second half of the show, we'll be talking about the global rise of atheism, and the article says it's a global rise. It's definitely a rise in the West. There are obviously pockets of this world that are not turning atheist at all.
Yeah.
But specifically, there's the article comes from the UK, and that we'll be discussing where they have actually passed a threshold where there are more atheists now than theists, which is pretty remarkable. But we'll be talking about that on the second half of the show. First, there's some news of the week, things that have happened, things we need to talk about, including the Illinois town where our current Pope Leo XIV, grew up.
OMG.
Dolton, Illinois. The town is planning on, the town government is planning on obtaining the Pope's childhood home through eminent domain.
Oh, shit. For real? Because I read a story where some guy snatched it up to flip it real fast because he knew.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to take it.
They're going to take it.
Ooh.
And the town's attorney has sent so the house is actually going to be auctioned off. So whoever bought it is actually, they made whatever their original intent was. They just want to flip it in the sense of just throwing it onto the market again, because they know that this thing's a hot commodity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the town lawyer sent a letter to the auction house saying that the village will take ownership of the home through direct purchase or eminent domain. Says the people inform any prospective buyers that their purchase may only be temporary, since the village intends to begin eminent domain process very shortly. So I don't know how I feel about that, because essentially the town is buying a shrine.
Yeah.
Right. They say that their stated purpose is to have it be sort of a historic site, right? A public historic site.
Okay.
And while that may be the case, there is no way in hell that this thing will not be a point of pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This feels like the town has an opportunity to do this correctly, I suppose, even though I don't know how I feel about them seizing property for this
purpose. Right.
I mean, it's one thing to seize property if you have a roadway that you absolutely have to build and there's something in the way.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. Right. I get that as a purpose for eminent domain, but just
because it's a place of interest
of the new Pope.
Yeah.
It feels really, really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Bidding in the auction is currently set at $250,000 as the base where they're going to start from. The home was originally listed in January for $219,000 before the seller reduced the price to $199,900, but then removed it on May 8th once the news of the new Pope came out. It's a barely over 1,000 square foot property where his parents owned between 1949 and 1996.
Oh, a long time.
So a long time. It's clearly the home that
it's his family home.
It's legitimately his family home. It's obviously where he grew up.
Yeah. Okay.
And undeniable, like this is the home. Like if you want to own, Leo the 14th's home,
right,
that he grew up in, this is it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like this is it's not like if it was my childhood home, like
it'd be
there's
like
10 different homes,
of course,
because we moved around so much.
Right.
And they just wouldn't sort of hold that sort of cachet as my childhood home.
Yeah.
But it's a cute little home. I'll show you a picture there.
It
Rachel.
is cute.
Yeah.
I would live there.
What you would expect for a 1,000 square foot home. But so again, they have the opportunity to do something that's actually like, this is a historic site, but Catholics are not going to treat it as that. This thing is going to get so Catholic shrined up.
Yeah.
ASAP.
It's not a place of interest. Like, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
If I was a taxpayer in this town, I would probably be a little annoyed that my taxpayer dollars were going to that.
Yeah. Like, if anything, this needs to be turned over to the local diocese, right? Like if this is going to, like, it's already become a tourist site.
Of course.
Right. Like people are already like going and getting their photos taken with it. And like people are already stopping to gawk at it. And blah, blah, blah. And so, I think it's highly problematic. There are so many things that are problematic about it. One, the public just seizing this guy's property because that's also the thing. Like in this process, it's not that just that the government gets to take your property and you get nothing, right?
Right.
They have to compensate you at the market value.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot could be argued about the market value of this place.
Absolutely.
Right. Like beyond just
$220,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this could be a little business.
Absolutely. Now,
right?
Maybe now it's
charging entrance fees.
The highest and best use.
Yeah.
Something different.
Yeah. So kind of a little bit of a problem here. So
yeah, interesting. Well, I want to talk about Oklahoma. Your people, Frank. These are your people.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
So
thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. So the Oklahoma academic standards for social studies is what it's. The legislature has decided that high school students in Oklahoma with updated standards are going to now learn disproven conspiracy theories about the 2020 election being stolen from Donald Trump.
This is going to be like taught in history class.
This is in high school. I don't know.
Probably just every class.
Maybe
every class has to begin.
Social studies.
Oh, social studies.
So maybe it would be like a government class or something. Okay. But
they're going to be teaching that as fact.
Yes. The guidelines in the curriculum will teach high school students to be able to identify discrepancies in the election by looking at graphs and other information.
Oh, God.
Including sudden halting of ballot counts in key battleground states.
Oh, my
the security
God.
risks. They should identify security risks of mail-in ballots.
No.
They should be able to identify when an unforeseen number of voters turn out. Because that's bad.
Right.
You don't ever want too many people voting in an election.
No.
Turnout bad.
Is bad. We know this.
Yeah.
Or at least Republicans know this.
Yeah.
That it's bad for them.
So the state superintendent of public instruction is a Trump supporter, obviously, and he sought...
Is this Ryan Walters?
Ryan Walters. Yeah, you know him. He's your guy.
Oh, we've talked so much about this guy.
Okay. Yeah, so he got help from the Heritage Foundation.
Of course, yeah.
And Kevin Roberts of Dennis Prager of PragerU.
Yeah.
So they're behind this curriculum redesign that
Great.
high school students will have to learn. Oh, the other thing that's in the curriculum is they have to learn about the Chinese lab leak for COVID-19, that theory. This will be in the curriculum, even though that's not proven.
No.
It's just we're actively seeking to give children bad information to go out into the world unprepared with bad knowledge.
I mean, Oklahoma already has some of the worst schools.
They are known
in the nation.
They're known for being bad.
Oh God.
So
they're just pushing it further down. These poor kids.
Yeah.
I mean, does it say like, is there somebody suing over this? Like, because this is, you can't just insert whatever the fuck political philosophy, like political ideas, right? Unfounded.
Well,
like stories like this into state curriculum.
It's in there. So
he is a fucking piece of shit. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to be something to pay attention to. Like,
yeah,
it's honestly like, I remember, back in the day, I hated the idea of like homeschooling, right? Like people would be like, oh, we need to homeschool our kids.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, because it was always a certain type, or at least that's who I was seeing, right? It was
back in the day, there was only one kind of person that wanted to homeschool.
Yeah.
And
it was
they
like
weren't the type you wanted to
conservative
teach.
crazies.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm just like, I totally get why a progressive, family would want to, or parent would want to homeschool their kid now.
Yeah.
To not let them anywhere near the public. Well, in Oklahoma in particular, in this story, like if you're like a progressive in Oklahoma, like I would be terrified to put my kid into the local schools.
And as a teacher, like they're not even giving teachers they're not relying on the teacher's own expertise to say, let's teach all the information, right? Like, okay, we'll teach you some fake shit, but then let's also teach you the real shit. But they're not doing that. They're not letting teachers decide what information to teach.
Is as part of this, is there a prohibition of teaching?
I don't think it said that.
The actual history?
I don't think it said that, but you can imagine what happens next when a teacher gets up and says, and this lab, so I've taught you about the lab leak theory of COVID.
Right.
Now let's actually talk about all the other real things that might have happened.
The scientists actually think.
That the real thinkers have decided.
This is the politically mandated.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you imagine if a teacher said that? They'd get, I imagine they would get in a lot of trouble.
Well, they need to be.
Yeah.
Like, especially if they're in like a bigger city school district where they can they know they can get away with it.
Yeah.
Dear God. All right. Well, Salman Rushdie, right?
I love him.
Yeah?
I do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Salman
Rushdie.
Rushdie.
So you were very aware then of his 2022 attack.
Yes.
Happened.
He went blind. He's blind.
He's now blind in one eye. He's got a patch.
Yeah.
It wasn't just his eye that was damaged.
No, he got messed up.
It was fucking awful.
Yeah.
It was during a literary event. He was on stage. And this guy rushed the stage and stabbed him 15 times.
In the face.
Face and his abdomen, because there was liver damage and intestine damage. And essentially, as Rushdie said in sworn statement, well, speaking from the stand this last February, Rushdie said, I became aware of a great quantity of blood I was lying in. My sense of time was quite cloudy. I was in pain from my eye and hand. And it occurred to me quite clearly I was dying.
Yeah.
And it says that he was stabbed 15 times in the head, neck, torso, and left hand, resulting in severe injuries to his right eye, liver, and intestines. And so, yeah, he's like permanently can't see out of that right eye anymore. But the guy, the stabber, Mr. Hadi Matar, who's now 27, he attacked him because he was following this fatwa from 35 years ago.
Yeah.
It's an Iranian religious leaders called this fatwa because of Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses, the novel, which has, I can't remember exactly what the Prophet Muhammad is doing in it.
I don't know.
But
you can't do anything.
But
with the Prophet.
apparently neither did this attacker,
Yeah.
right? Like he admitted that he really had read only a couple pages of the book. He literally was just following the fatwa. He heard that, he knew that he was, that like there was this sort of death warrant, right? This religious death warrant. And he was following it. He took it into his own hands. And that's what these things are, right?
Yeah.
It was when, I guess he was made aware of it because there was a 2006 speech delivered by Hezbollah's chief at the time, Hassan Nasrallah, where he endorsed the fatwa and sort of brought it to light for a new generation, I guess.
Wow.
And here's the thing, like, I've never read the Satanic Verses.
I haven't
right?
either.
I guess I don't need to in order to know that Rushdie has every right to say whatever it is that he said in that book, right? And he can have any depiction of Muhammad, right? And this kid read a couple pages and was like, "Yep, time for this guy to fucking die."
Yeah,
and it's like, at least do your homework, dude.
Yeah,
right. Like,
well, and like, why?
Why don't you read the whole book? You know, like,
why Salman Rushdie too? Like, this is so old. This is what did you say? 35 years.
35 years old.
There have got to be
fatwa.
other fatwas that affect this kid's life more. Not that I condone any of them, but why? What resonates with this kid about?
He heard it and he
on a really
decided
peaceful human being.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
What?
He took up the call. He accepted the
fucking Islam. God fucking damn it.
No fucking kidding. Well, anyway, the whole reason I'm bringing this up, he's just been sentenced.
Okay.
The sentencing finally came down. He was found guilty a couple months ago, I think, and they finally did the sentencing. 25 years in prison.
Yeah.
And he was also got 7 years for wounding the moderator. Ralph Harry Reese is his name, who was on stage with Rushdie when the attack happened. And that will be served concurrently because it was sort of the same event, I guess. So it's not 7 years on to the 25 or whatever. But yeah, so 25 years for this guy for attempted murder. It's just something I'll never fucking understand. And obviously I was kind of leading towards something with the whole, at least he should have read the book joke. Not a very good joke. But
gotcha. But
there's something so dangerous in Islam, right? That I don't know why it feels so different.
Yeah.
From the other major world religions.
Yeah.
Where its adherents feel like this kind of violence is justified.
Yeah.
You know, and not all of them. There's good moderate Muslims out there who at the time even said this was a horrible thing. Yeah. Right. But there's a space. There's just a space in Islam, and it terrifies me.
Yeah.
Right. Especially as somebody with a microphone, right? Who says things about Islam, you know, and who defends people's rights to say bad things about Islam. It's not, we don't say bad things about Muslims, right? By and large, it's this terrifying belief system that justifies terrible behavior. Yeah. And an inability. I mean, no religion is really good at living with other religions, right? And other world views and ideologies. But Christianity just doesn't terrify me in the same way, right? Yeah. Maybe at some points in its history, it would have terrified me. Of course. Right. But yeah, we're, yeah.
All the religions suck, but yeah,
They all
there's
suck, but
something really, really shitty about Islam that allows like this sort of behavior to be condoned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy tough. Well, are you done with that story? I don't want to cut you off short.
No.
I'm going to stay on the Muslim train.
Okay.
The Islam train, rather.
Choo choo.
So, in France, President Emmanuel Macron has suggested banning girls under 15 years old from wearing Muslim headscarves in public places.
Huh. Okay. I mean, that's interesting.
The French president's office said he's asked ministers to come up with proposals before June to address the serious findings of a report that Macron commissioned last year into the presence of the Muslim Brotherhood in France. The report found that the Muslim Brotherhood posed a threat to national cohesion and risks undermining the fabric of society and Republican institutions. So I kind of agree with that, but I also feel that it's weird that a government would study just one religion
for its harms. Not maybe.
It feels like targeted, which I don't like that.
Point their lens at Catholicism,
right?
And its harms to society.
Yeah.
It
feels
agreed.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, but so in 2022, in the 2022 presidential race in France, when Macron was reelected, Marine Le Pen, who didn't win that election,
right?
She proposed banning the wearing of Muslim headscarves by all women in all public spaces. Like, you can't be seen in public.
Wow.
So at least this is not that crazy, but it's like the centrist candidate is now going crazy, steering on the side of what the crazies want, right? And by crazies, I mean the far right of France.
I think we followed.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's obvious what Macron's up to, right? Like, he's trying to throw a bone to enough people on the right who agree with Marine Le Pen to stave off this rise
of the crazy far right.
The crazy far right in France. But why 15? Right? Why is that the cutoff?
Yeah.
And what is the goal here? Like, what is this being couched in some trying to protect children from?
They're fighting against Islamism and its radical excesses. Like, I don't know. I don't understand. And this is also something that's it's targeted at women or young girls, which I don't like that either. But although Islam does do that to young girls, like or otherizes them and makes them wear headscarves because they're too.
I mean, you do see little girls wearing headscarves.
It is weird.
But I mean, I haven't known a ton of Muslims in my life, but I have known a few. And my understanding is, at least in kind of sort of moderate circles, is that girls don't have to wear a headscarf. This is something you do as you sort of start to approach adulthood.
Okay.
Right. And so, like, sometime in your teens, maybe even like 12 years old or whatever, a girl will make the choice, quote unquote, to start covering their head. Right. That's how it was presented to me.
Okay.
From a young Muslim woman who was wrestling with the decision, actually.
Oh.
She was a student at Spy Hop.
Oh.
And when I taught there, and she was having a hard time with it because she kind of grew up in a moderate family here in the United States, immigrant father, American mother, and she just didn't, and her mother covered and her older sister covered, but she was just like, I just don't know if I want it or not. Right.
And they were all cool with that.
And they were kind of granting her the space, but they really wanted her to start wearing a hijab. But she was just like, I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to. I don't think she ever ended up. I think she ended up avoiding it.
Wow.
But yeah, so I kind of know about that side of that decision from her.
Yeah.
From a pretty like cool family that wasn't like crazy.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it just seems weird to like enforce something like that. Like you're cool. Like you're going to be fine once she turns 15. Like, are you going to like check IDs? Like,
well, that's true. How do you,
are you going to be like going around being like, you look like you're too young.
Yeah.
Let's check we need to double check your ID to make sure
that you're old enough to wear a headscarf.
Yeah. It just seems ridiculous.
It's silly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it seems like a total overreach. And
to be fair,
shitty.
I guess they don't allow in like state buildings, including schools and hospitals, you can't wear a crucifix.
Oh, okay.
You can't wear a Sikh turban. So I guess this is just being consistent with that.
The French have a different view of secularism than
anyone. Like they go all out.
Yeah. And Quebec is similar.
Is it?
Yeah. It's something about speaking French.
Yeah.
Makes you.
In the Ivory Coast, the Côte d'Ivoire, they don't wear
I don't know
any crosses.
I know
I'm
nothing. But yeah. They do have an interesting take on it. I'm always sort of fascinated with their take on it. I don't sometimes like the not wearing crosses. I kind of see it. I'm like, wow, wouldn't that be amazing to live in a society where that could be a rule and it just kind of works?
Yeah.
But my idea of like pluralism is a little bit more embrace everybody's different way of doing thing and just like everybody just has to get good with it.
Yeah.
Like that's a better stance than but at the same time, you do want some prohibitions in place.
I
right?
do.
About like definitely what you can do in public spaces, right? But monitoring what people wear, it just feels weird.
Because I could go into a government building in France with something on my head, a scarf of some sort, and probably just be like, well, it's rainy outside.
Depends on how it's tied.
Well, that's true. But also like, why not just put on a different scarf if you want to wear a scarf? There's no way to enforce this.
Yeah, just wear a hat. Put all your hair up into a hat.
Yeah.
Or
like those Jewish women that wear wigs.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they can't enforce. They wouldn't even know if they were wearing a wig. They couldn't enforce that. Right.
Yeah. Ugh. Anyway.
It's weird. It's just, I don't know how I feel about it entirely. But
how do you feel about a religion forcing women to cover their heads?
That's why I'm torn. I'm like, fuck that. Kids shouldn't have to wear a headscarf. But I don't know that I want the government. I don't want the government doing a study to find out what the threats are.
All right. Okay. Well, here's one about this. I got this from NPR. They did this whole sort of, sad, isn't this sad, story about rural religious colleges closing.
Okay.
And there is a side of it that you can be like, oh, this is sad, right? If you don't think too hard about it for too long.
Okay.
Which is, these little, often Catholic universities or Episcopalian universities, these are not Bible colleges, right? These are not, you're going there to become a pastor or a priest or whatnot. These are, you go and you get a degree in English or like nursing.
BYU Idaho.
Yeah, it's BYU Idaho, but owned by Catholics.
Okay.
And so yeah, they purport to be colleges, universities, right? Part of that whole thing. But these are also religious schools, right? Like a BYU, right? Where they have a chapel on campus where they hold mass, right? These are schools that I can't speak for them all following all of these things, but these are schools where it would not be weird for chapel attendance to be mandatory, right? Or that you have to swear to some like code of conduct, right? Or where, and this probably you can say universally, that the cultural climate on campus is obviously religious and conservative, right? And so these are places that parents like to send their kids to keep them walled off from reality for another 4 years, please, right? These are sort of safe spaces for religious folks who are afraid of society at large. And no, seriously,
I know,
that's what
but
they
it's
are.
also just like so pathetic because that is what it's. Like, grow up.
I know.
The world's not so scary. You can handle reality.
But anyway, but by couching them as like these rural colleges, in addition to being religious colleges, it sort of gives it this aura of, oh, look at what these communities are losing, right? When these colleges are closing.
So what's causing them to close?
Lack of attendance.
Yeah, good.
Right? Lack of interest.
Supply and demand.
Yeah. Like this is the
no one wants your school, then your school is going to close.
Yeah. The school's being overpriced. On average, $25,000 a year to attend these schools versus the private nonprofit universities across the country average $16,000 or something a year.
Okay.
I'm trying to find that page. I got that right. So the tuition's high. Culturally, it's probably weird for kids, even growing up in a religious family. Like a lot of kids probably just kind of want to get out of their parents' house. And this is like just barely out of their parents' house.
Yeah.
Right. This is
the bishop's house. Weird.
So anyway, there's some statistics though. Let's see. So more than half of the colleges that have and universities that have closed in the United States since 2020 have been religiously affiliated.
Good.
79 nonprofit colleges and universities have closed in this country since 2020. And let's see, religious colleges and universities make up 1/5 of the colleges and universities in the United States.
Really?
849 institutions out of the almost 3,900 colleges and universities in the country are religiously affiliated, which is kind of interesting. And I think it said about half of them are, I think I just said that, didn't I? That about half of them are financially stressed.
Yeah.
Half of them that closed were religious. But I think it also was like half of them are financially stressed as well. So it's just this strange phenomenon of a church-owned university, right? Like this, because it's like, I don't know. Here's the deal. The right, the religious right has been like going after the left for being like snowflakes and needing our safe spaces and this and that. And whereas that's all this is. This is exactly what
their
that
little
is.
delicacies can't bother with the real world
Right.
and the outside influences because they're just so tender.
Right. This is literally, we can't face the world.
Yeah.
Not, let me name a couple safe spaces that have closed down in this state in Utah by order of the legislature.
Right.
The Women's Resource Center at the University of Utah had to close because of new state law governing these things. Any kind of, like, they closed the Black Student Union at the U. There was a Latino student union that closed. The LGBTQ student union had to close because of this mentality of, these liberal safe spaces. Yeah. Right.
Right.
And it's like, that's all you guys are. Yeah. Is one giant safe
Now you're
space.
making it your own little safe space where no other outside ideas have to get in.
Yeah. And it's just so fucking infuriating.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But anyway, these places are closing, and I suppose they do represent jobs in these small communities that need, employment and whatnot. And that's good, that they provide that kind of stuff, but always with a string attached, right? Like, these are not like bastions of forward thinking or of openness or of acceptance or any of the values that you need to live in a society that is pluralistic like the United States.
Yeah.
That does have all these different people. Like, why not send your kids off to a school where there's all different kinds of people,
competing ideas, and
they're going to learn the skills that they're going to need to work in the workforce in the United States. And a lot of that's interpersonal. Like, actually, the vast majority of the really important skills to succeed in life in general are those abilities to interact with people,
the network you build,
and to get along, and to be able to reach across, differences and still be able to get your job done. Yeah. Right. But if you grew up, like I was thinking about, oh, wow, because when I first saw that, like, a lot of these schools have like nursing programs, I was like, Jesus, man, we have such a nursing shortage in this country. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, but they're churning out nurses that have never been taught to deal with, somebody different coming in to their, to whatever setting, their hospital setting or ER or wherever they're going to be working. Right. Yeah. That, like, this queer person coming in, they have no skill set. They've been sheltered their fucking entire life. And then they go to some Christian college to get a nursing degree. Yeah. How good are you going to be at, like, providing just human kindness and decency to these people who are different from you? Right. I'm a little worked up.
Well, I'm with you. Or, like, I mean, even like that, bedside manner is one thing, but if you're like anti-abortion and you're giving health care to a patient, like, if that's your belief that, like, you're against that, that's a problem. Yeah. It's a problem. It's because that, in a lot of instances, that's someone's health, their life is on the line.
Well, I mean, a lot of these people, I would presume, I would probably go seek employment at, like, a Catholic hospital network, which already isn't going to provide abortions.
They're not going to do that.
So the decision's been made for them. Yeah. They can feel more sort of safe in their judgment. Yeah. Against people seeking
in
abortions.
Their safe space.
Yeah.
Snowflakes.
I mean, honestly.
No, I'm with you on that. All right. We're going to Texas.
Please not.
We're going to Texas. We always end up in Texas. Like, every time I'm on this show, I swear Texas gets thrown in here like 3 different times because they're so out of whack. All right. The Texas State Senate has passed a bill that would block school districts from purchasing instructional materials that do not use the terms before Christ and Anno Domini when referring to historical time periods.
So BC and AD are
they're in
BCE
before Common Era and Common Era that almost everyone else in the world uses. Yeah, that's out.
That's out.
We're not doing that anymore. So teachers,
this woke, like
these fucking snowflakes can't hear about the terms the rest of the world wants to use.
Universally accepted terms now.
And that also encompass, like, others, not just Christianity.
Right.
It's like, just use the one that doesn't have to do with any religion. Why does this need to be a problem?
Right. The whole world has gotten on board with Europe's calendar. Yeah. The least we can do
is stop referring to it in Christian terms. No. And teachers can't say BCE and CE anymore. They have to say BC and AD. Yeah, so again, we're just churning out high school students who are going into the world unprepared with how the rest of us communicate.
Yeah. Well, they're going to wind up in some college class
Yeah.
in
saying AD, and everyone's gonna
Yeah.
be like, "What are you? Why are you saying that, weirdo?"
Yeah. Oh,
AD.
we just spotted the kid from Texas.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what the silver lining of this story is, though, is that Texas has got their shit together so much that they can pass bills like that. They solved homelessness. They didn't. Oh, they haven't already just like taken care of the real shit that needs to get done in the Senate.
Right.
Like I'm pretty sure, regardless of the side of the aisle you fall on as a constituent,
Right.
you just want your Senate to be taking care of the shit that we all agree on first. Then maybe when you've solved all that.
Oh, no. Rachel,
No.
you've completely missed the point of the
of the legislature.
Of the state legislature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it is all about owning the libs.
Yes.
It's all about fighting wokeness, right? Wherever you can find it. And they're finding it in amazing places.
Yeah.
That nobody ever even thought was quote unquote woke.
Right.
Right. That never was woke.
Right.
Right. Like, this is
what a waste of time, though. Like,
that's what state legislatures do. It is literally, unless you're like California and you're like having to run a country-sized state.
Yeah.
Well, Texas is huge.
It is huge.
But I'm sure the liberals in California do crazy, quote unquote, crazy shit too from time to time. No. But yeah, you're right. Like these are the big problems, right?
Yeah.
That the Texas legislature has time to address.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The number
rather than, you're right. They have homeless people.
They have a housing crisis. They have natural disasters. They have issues that the general public probably wants them to create solutions for.
Yeah.
But
a failing power grid.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of shit.
But they need to make sure they're getting this shit done first.
Good for them.
Yeah. Fuckers.
They have their priority. They know what their priorities are, but anyway.
Vote them out, Texas.
They know that's what keeps them in office.
I know.
Right. Like that's the world we live in, and they're fully aware of it. They're doing, and with those as the rules, right? They're doing it exactly right. They're doing exactly what they need to do.
Yeah.
To stay in power.
It makes me think I could infiltrate the Senate if I just pretended to be like MAGA and just run for public office and just be like, but just say the stupidest shit because then you'll get elected.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh, don't be reasonable.
No.
Run for office.
But then get assigned to some important committee and just like halt everything. Just like, don't let anything get out.
Do it, Rachel.
I know. Maybe
You've never said your name on the show, your last name on the show.
I know.
Like they would never find this.
Oh God. That's
come
true.
back to haunt you.
Well, people have asked me multiple times throughout the years, why don't you run for office? Why don't you run for office? And I'm like, my beliefs, my points of view are not generally accepted in Utah. No one is going to vote for me. However, I think if I just went to the dark side, like if that's just what the message I'm communicating is, maybe I can get elected.
Are you a registered Republican?
I am.
Yeah. That's a thing we do here in Utah, everybody. So we can vote in the primaries.
Yeah, our primaries are closed. Well, the Republican primary is closed.
Yeah.
So you have to be Republican to vote for. Yeah. And we're all going to, mostly the Republicans will win.
Right.
So we want to at least say which Republican will be the candidate.
Right. Like, and it was really important this last congressional election to like, there were two, both crazy. Yes. One was worse than the other.
One more crazy.
And so it was like, okay, everybody vote for the lesser of the two crazies. And she's awful. I fucking hate her. But she's the one who won.
The least bad. But we also get like Mitt Romney from time to time.
Yeah.
Or John Curtis or.
Yeah, it is weird.
So
it is weird.
It does work.
Yeah.
To play the dark side.
So you have a history of being a Republican.
Yeah.
And so being a member of the party.
Yeah.
Do it.
Maybe I will.
You should actually be going to the caucuses.
I know.
If you don't do that, I'm sure. But anyway.
That would be hard, but
politics in a conservative state, everybody. It's a fun game. All right. Well, if you'd like to chime in about that or anything else you've heard on the show today, please send us an email. podcast@thankgodimatheist.com is the email address, and 424-666-8442 is the telephone number if you'd like to leave us a voicemail message. We love to hear you when you call in.
Do you ever get drunk dialers leaving you messages? I'm going to drunk dial you guys.
Please do. I want to hear it.
Okay.
I totally want to hear it.
Okay.
All right. Well, stick around, everybody. There's more show coming up. Rachel.
Yes.
Whenever there's a guest host, I always just skip the voicemails and emails and thanking new patrons.
Yeah. Make Dan do that stuff.
It's his job. Until Dan can come back, especially the patron thing. I always like for both of us to be able to be here and be able to thank
of course.
Anybody new who's supporting the show. So that means that we'll just be skipping ahead to our big topic of the week. And this one has to do with the rise of atheism throughout the world. And specifically, some developments in the UK where atheists now outnumber theists, which is a remarkable threshold to pass. I look at gains in the United States of sort of the nuns, because that's what we have sort of the best numbers for, which is the number of people who are sort of none of the above in a list of religions. So that encapsulates, atheists, agnostics, and just sort of the spiritual but not religious folk.
The witches,
all of those folk are kind of lumped into this group of people that it has statistically been growing significantly in the United States.
Yeah.
As people just sort of stop going to church and stop claiming to be a member, to be Methodist or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they know they haven't been since they were a kid. Right. And so it's a great phenomenon that's growing in the United States, but we are so far behind the UK on this. They've crossed a threshold that feels, I was saying that our numbers always kind of feel tenuous to me, right? That we could backslide, right? In the United States, that also because with the politicization of religion in this country, that it feels like we might be locking in religiosity on the right, right? There's an incentive if you're politically conservative to be religious right now, which I don't think is the case in the UK at all. But anyway, so there's new research coming out of that was led by the Queen's University Belfast. It involved Brunel University of London, and a bunch of other institutions were involved. And they did research surveying nearly 25,000 people across 6 countries, Brazil, China, Denmark, Japan, UK, and the US, as a way of finding out why people become atheists and agnostics. And they have some findings that I just felt like were really worth talking about, including things like common explanations for why people believe in God or not, such as intelligence, fear of death, or need for structure, actually have very little empirical support.
Okay. Which
is interesting because I think that, even on this show, Dan and I have talked at length for sort of this, the social importance of religion and belonging to a religious community being something that keeps people in religion, because the atheist community doesn't offer that.
We got mushroom church.
Indeed. Well, that gives you some structure right there. That definitely gives you no structure.
No, none.
But so I think that I guess what I'm leading to is that we've been quick to sort of buy into a lot of these ideas that just aren't true.
Okay.
Right. The next point is the strongest influences on belief are parental upbringing and societal expectations regarding belief in God. That makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense. But the next one is, while anti-religious parents do not substantially impact whether their children believe in God, right, which is interesting, they do strongly influence whether their children are morally opposed to religion. That's a really interesting thing to suss out of that, right? Because it feels like if you, if a child learns from you this immoral opposition to religion, they're not going to be going out
seeking out any of it,
like organized religion.
Yeah.
Even though they may end up sort of believing in God, right?
Sure.
Which leads to this bullet point, which is non-belief in God does not necessarily rule out belief in other supernatural phenomena, as most atheists and agnostics express some type of supernatural belief.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Like the energy, like the people that are like, but your energy and you got to send out your energy to the world. And
yeah, I mean,
is that the type of supernatural thing that they're talking about?
Yeah. Sort of pop spirituality type stuff. Yeah, probably.
Whereas like, it's not God centric, but it's
sort of
like
the Oprah version of like manifesting.
Yes.
And, what was her thing? She had a whole thing. Anyway,
it was The Secret.
It was The Secret. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I read that book. Sucked me in.
Yeah. What was The Secret?
The secret is manifesting.
It's manifesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just sort of focus in on something and
it will happen.
Yeah.
Which is not even like a secret.
Right.
Like if you just focus your energies on a goal, then you are more likely to accomplish your goal.
But you can see that resonating with somebody like Oprah, who probably got almost everything she ever wanted in life.
Exactly. People who succeed are great fans of The Secret. People who didn't get very wealthy and succeed in life are like, I don't think The Secret's real.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder why that.
Right.
Well, that's kind of crazy.
Right.
And then the next two, let's see. We have most atheists and agnostics endorse objective moral values, human dignity, and inherent rights, as well as a deep value for nature at similar rates as the general population. Okay. Yeah, that jibes. In fact, okay. And the last one is atheists and agnostics are similar to the general population in seeing family and freedom as very important for finding meaning in the world and in their own lives. Yep.
Yeah, like, family is not a religious value. Yeah, we all like our family. Well, not all of it, but we all find that it's important to have relationships.
You can see that, that those are important for finding meaning.
Yes.
Whether or not you sort of have that in your own life. I just think it's nice that people do this kind of research and look into it and then find out, atheists, they're just like everybody else. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's so obvious to us.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's like, I don't know, like I know when I was accepting my own atheism that there were questions that I had of like, well, where am I going to find like moral direction in life? Right.
How will I know right from wrong? How will I, what will incentivize me to treat people decently? Because I'm not a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like it turns out it's really easy. If you're just a person, you don't treat people badly. You don't need God to tell you.
Right. Guess what? These were always just
human
social forces.
Yes.
Right. Social phenomena of like, oh, I want to be treated nicely. I want to have friends. Maybe that's what I should
nice to people
putting out into the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I should be manifesting. is
Yes.
is kindness. Yeah, it sucks that it has to be pointed out.
Yeah.
Right. That like that we have been so completely and fully maligned as atheists, right, by the religious, that it makes sense that we need to point it out, but it's pathetic that we have to point it out. But it is also, I think, it's good to remind ourselves that we're no better, right? That our values actually are just normal, typical values.
Yeah.
Right. Like we didn't find any special secret sauce for life over here as a non-believer. Right. That like,
well, but we do get to be morally superior because we're not afraid of going to hell. Like that's not our motivation. I'm not joking. We
get to feel better.
The golden rule is because it's the right thing to do, not because we're afraid of the consequences.
Right. I think you're right that like, but we shouldn't get hung up on it.
No,
that like,
no,
we're the morally superior.
I basically have it tattooed on my forehead, but no, we shouldn't just be telling all the religious people that they suck.
This furrowing of this brow, you know what it means.
You know. Read between my brow lines. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I mean, I think there's just a tendency on whatever side of whatever divide you're on, right? The human reaction is to find out why we're better than the others,
of course.
Right? And what I think we need more of is reminding ourselves that at the end of the day, we all see value in our freedom, our family, right? Like, and in our social connections, right? That these are the things that give meaning and importance to life, right?
Yeah.
And like you wish that the religious people could give up on the things that are not giving, that actually are not adding that as much value to their lives as they think that these things are. Right?
I love like the religious people who think atheists must just be like sad and like,
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's so sad that you're an atheist. And it's like, are you shitting me? Like, we're so much happier.
Right.
But that goes back to like what you're just saying. They think they're happier.
Right.
And we think we're happier.
Right.
But
we're happy because we found something that's working for our life.
Yes.
Right. And that's the thing that's hard to accept of religious people, is that they have found, meaning and in their life.
Yeah.
Right. What I would bemoan of them and their situation is that they're spending all this time reading stupid books that actually have terrible moral lessons.
Yeah.
They're not like, all they need to live good moral lives is to be good people.
Yes.
Which isn't actually that hard.
It's a pretty intrinsic trait, it turns out, for most humans.
Yeah.
To just be decent.
Well, to get to that point, all you have to do is just look across cultures.
Yeah.
Right. Like successful cultures have strong social connections and meaning found in family and friends and neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And like that's just look at people that we all end up at the same conclusion. Right. And it's pathetic that has to be pointed out to religious folk through big giant studies like this.
25,000 people across 6 countries.
Oh, it turns out, those atheists aren't so bad.
Yeah.
Huh.
They seem kind of normal.
Of course, they're not going to listen to this because they don't like studies and science anyway. The ones that are really shitty.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're not going to reach them. I'm just so jealous of the fucking where the Brits are at.
I know. Can you imagine just walking around and just knowing most people don't believe in religion?
Yeah. And let me tell you, in a society that's starting to become that open to non-belief, right? The believers are going to really start standing out.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because they got their little Christian cross on, right? These are the ardent, like remaining few who are holding on to their religion for dear life. Right. because the rest of everybody is just out living their lives.
Yeah.
Right. And it used to be that just the way that society was, most of those people were off at church on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. Or at least being somewhat religious-y, even though they maybe weren't the most fervent of believers. And they still thought that the people with the crosses were a little kooky. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's just now those people are free to be out of that and be living their lives and whatnot. But anyway, I don't know. I'm rambling. We've reached the point in the show where Frank starts rambling.
Gotta shut this down.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I have a note here. Turns out all you need to kill God is decent parents and a good Wi-Fi signal.
Oh,
so that's
yes. Yes. I love it.
That's my thought.
That's funny.
So anyway, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Rachel, for sitting in.
You're welcome.
For Dan. It's always so much fun.
Where'd he go?
Dan is on tour for his other show.
Oh, wonderful.
So
he's living the life.
Yeah, he's out there doing it. But if you'd like to chime in about anything that you've heard on the show this week, please do so. We love to hear from you. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com is the email address. 424-666-8442 is the telephone number. We love to hear from you guys. If you'd like to support us on Patreon or PayPal, go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/donate. There's links. They'll get you to either of those places. And this episode was edited by Roger Gowdy. Music was provided by the Red Rock Hot Club. Well, I think that's everything. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks again, Rachel. Mm-hmm. And Dan will be back next week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Blessed be.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2025, all rights reserved.